Thank you, Mr. Dillion. We will now welcome the keynote speech by Presidential
Presidential
That was very good, of course. That was good. By Mr. Lenox Shuman. Thank you. Welcome him.
Thank you. Please, thanks. I've never seen this many mics in front of me before.
Get used to it.
I think that's good. Can you hear me in the back? I see hands, so I would assume that that's a yes. Now, before I start into my 2 cents here, I want to offer a very sincere apology to some of you who would have shown up here expecting to see me in my traditional garb. Sorry to disappoint you. Friends, colleagues, all protocols observed, members of the diplomatic corps, I don't see any parliamentarians and I don't see other political parties present, but I just want to bid you a very warm welcome. Now, newsroom, I hope you forgive me because I'm going to move your mic a little bit and it keeps falling down. All right. And before I begin into my short speech, I want for all of us to remember a very, very important thing. Actually, maybe a couple of things. The first one is what my colleague Sean would have mentioned. When you show up at the blood bank, it doesn't say that this blood came from an Indo-Guyanese, Chinese Guyanese, an Amerindian Guyanese. It's just blood, and it's there to save a life, and we welcome it. Another important thing to remember is that poverty in itself has no color. Poverty hits every color the same way, it hits every race the same way, and it does not discriminate. Right? But let me express my deepest gratitude for the privilege to address you this evening. You have come this evening because some of you are curious to find out who I am, and basically why I am running for the presidency. And also to find out what the Liberty and Justice Party is all about. And once again, before I dig into the real meat of some of these things, there's an interesting concept that was promoted by Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist at the University of Toronto. He's a practicing clinical psychologist and a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. And I hope that if he's listening, that he doesn't really give me a severe thrashing for misquoting him, and it's not verbatim. And one of the things that he said in his book, The 12 Rules of Life, An Antidote to Chaos, is the interesting thing about new ideas is that it upsets the old. And to me, that speaks about something very profound, something that has not really been noticed in society as to where the young people would have fit into society. And I want to draw on another very sly remark. I remember when, just before the party was to be launched, I think the media had asked one of the honorable members of parliament, I can't remember if it's a minister or not, but they asked for a comment on the formation of a new party led by some indigenous folks. And the honorable member kind of mused and said, "What party? Must be some kind of a birthday party." I don't know if many of you would have read that. But if the honorable member is listening right now, I want to reassure him that he was correct. It is a birthday party. It is the birth of a new political beginning for Guyana. It is a birth of a new political party and a new political ideology. My presence here is not because I want to be here. I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to do a lot of other things. Me, I would rather be sitting in a spaceship, just circling the earth and looking down and seeing a whole lot of things. But I'm here because of need. Sometimes the things that we want does not always correlate to the things that we need. And in Guyana, I find that that is a truism. What Guyana needs is far different from what Guyana wants. I'm not sure you have noticed, but yes, I am an indigenous person. Yes, I'm from the First Nations of Guyana. I have heard that the Liberty and Justice Party is an Amerindian party. Well, I also am sorry to disappoint those of you who would have thought that, because we're not. Let me be clear and let me clarify that. People seem to identify parties by their leaders or their leadership. People tend to identify the PNC as an Afro-Guyanese party because of the leadership and founder. And also, they tend to identify the PPP as an Indo party for the same reasons. And they have tried desperately to shed those categorizations with the tokenistic personality here and there. But that is not where we stand. The Liberty and Justice Party is a new party for all Guyanese people, free from old ideologies that underpin Guyana's politics to this day. The old ideologies that over the past 53 years of independence, since 1966, have failed to provide for all our people to turn Guyana into the modern powerhouse it deserves to be. I am proud of my heritage, there is no doubt. I am proud of my country, that is why I'm standing in front of you here today. And everything it will be under the Liberty and Justice Party. I am who I am, and I will never deny that, dumb it down, nor compromise my values to fit anyone else's. I come from a long line of chiefs, like my father before me. I was born, bred, grew up in Guyana. And if the Chronicle wishes to see my birth certificate, I'd be more than happy to produce that. Because I've seen they've offered some free advertising. My father was born and raised in the village of Pakuri, and he was a chief there, who also led the community. But in truth, we all know it. The world is led by women. And all our communities are led by women. It was my mother who taught me how to take responsibility for my actions and how to be responsible. Basically, it was my mother who taught me to be a man. To be the man that is standing in front of you today, pledging my service to country and to all of you. Because I believe we all, and I say this, I believe we all deserve better. A better education system where teachers are trained to the highest standards, together with nurses, doctors, policemen, and civil servants, who must be elevated to the position of one of the most respected people in society. This must be reflected in actions and salaries. However, it must be said that respect is not given. It is earned with consistent deeds, professionalism, integrity, befitting the acceptance of the responsibilities of those crucial professions. Guyana is a rich country, reflected in its peoples, its religions, its diversities, cultures, and natural resources. It is built on the hopes, aspirations, and dreams for everyone to prosper. The LJP is of the firm belief that the future of our nation can only be secured by providing a society that fosters democracy, a modern and strong constitution, articles of law, economic stability, equality, equal opportunity, and justice for all. In such an environment, we can nurture and support our citizens to realize their and our true potential. Since Guyana's independence in 1966, successive governments have failed to provide political stability, economic growth, and investment, what ethnic chauvinism is. It is a prejudiced belief in the superiority of a certain ethnic group, a cultural or social group with certain characteristics, like religion, language, ancestry, or physical traits. The LJP has been formed to create a new political beginning for Guyana. The Liberty and Justice Party is committed to shaping Guyana's future, with like-minded Guyanese of all ethnicities, all identities, all cultures, of all ages, who respect each other's right to share equally in power, the economy, and the patrimony of Guyana. The Liberty and Justice Party of Guyana is committed to the ideal that the dignity of each individual person is a sacred and cardinal principle of a democratic society that shall be the guiding purpose of the party's political organization and activity in Guyana's society. I believe in Guyana. I believe in Guyana and its inexhaustible potential. And I see a time in our nation's future when we no longer have to say, we have work to do. Because where there is a true will, there is a way to achieve anything and everything Guyana needs right now. I often reflect on the fact that the first act of our elected officials in 2015 was a pay raise for members of the National Assembly. That was achieved because there was an overriding will to do that for themselves. The understanding was that if you give MPs a pay raise, it should curb the need for corruption. But I want to ask a very simple question. Has it really done that? Has it really curbed corruption? Has the same urgency and level of salary raises been afforded to the other sectors of our society? The notion of feed the underprivileged, low-wage earners, hard workers first was not thought about. The parliamentarians looked after number one first. And I want to bring something to the fore. I hear the plight of the farmers, the sugar workers, and in my view, what I look as, I'd say the current administration still, their lack of respect for the law. After these people would have been retrenched, there seemed to have been no hurry to grant them what is legally entitled to them, which was their severance. In fact, had the workers not stood firmly, I'm not sure that there would have been movement on that. But I also want to highlight something very interesting in that regard. They all deem themselves or term themselves as the defenders of farmers, defenders of sugar workers and rice farmers. But in 53 years, neither administration has really addressed their issues. And that is one of entrapment. What they've done is simply provided handouts to keep these people in dependence in perpetuity. One of the things that I will commit to right now, and I want to make it very clear, is to transform that industry and to transform Guyana. How do we do that? Had we thought about it in 53 years, instead of 7,000 people being unemployed, There could have been 7,000 people in private enterprise. All we had to do was to make them all landowners. They would have toiled that soil for generations. They would have done a significant amount of work not to be rewarded through history. And what we would like to do is to change that dynamics and change the ground and make them all landowners. And I think once we do that, you're supporting private enterprise, supporting businesses, and supporting the nation. One of the questions that people ask is, what are we about? Basically, what is it that you intend on doing? How do you intend on going about that? And most of those things will be answered when we have an opportunity to present our manifesto. And our position tonight is just a launch, and I want you to keep that in mind. We're not going to be presenting a manifesto tonight. The aims and objectives of this party are to unite all the people of Guyana for the complete liberation of the country from all forms of discrimination, to fight for social justice and to eliminate the vast inequalities created by racism, to build a Guyanese nation with a common patriotism and loyalty in which the cultural, linguistic, religious diversity of the people is recognized and respected, to uphold the articles of the law and the Constitution of Guyana and its subsequent amendments as the supreme laws of Guyana and defend same, to put a high premium on creating a regionally and potentially a globally leading education system, environmental protection regime, and security policies and healthcare system, to be transparent, accountable, responsible, open-minded, responsive, and pragmatic, and obviously sensitive and sensible in our approach to government and governance at all times. Our leader and all our members will conduct themselves in the most moral and ethical manner, to promote economic development for the benefit of all, to support and advance the cause of youth emancipation, to support and advance the cause of national development, world peace, disarmament, and environmentally sustainable economics, and a diverse portfolio of development. We aim to defend Guyana's borders with exhaustive diplomatic means and a strong defense force to protect our sovereign territory, to respect all Guyana's diversities, cultural, economic, ethnic, gender, sexual orientation, rural and urban, hinterland and coastal, to support and promote the rights of women, children, and persons with disabilities. We have within the Constitution of Guyana currently, and I think I can't state it verbatim, but it says that we have a right to live in a society that does not discriminate. But I want to pose this question, and it comes with a bit of sensitivity because I know it's a sensitive topic for the people who are suffering. How many of you would have seen government buildings with wheelchair ramps for the people who are not able to climb stairs? How many of you would have looked at those things as equal access? In my view, those are discriminatory in practice. We aim to support and promote, to recognize and respect the rights of our First Peoples and all other populations who were brought to our land of many waters under colonial rule, to restore the value of all indigenous languages, giving equal status to all 10 languages of Guyana, recognizing that English is the primary and national language of Guyana, used for official communication. to restore international trust in Guyana's government and governance, to foster sustainable business partnerships for the benefit of all Guyanese, to conduct all party business with integrity and professionalism, to create policies that are informed by the people and are evidence-based and driven through legitimate research, to ensure that no group is excluded, making it necessary to support and promote equal representation of all ethnic groups, genders, and sexual identities in all facets of the party, including leadership councils, and going further to recognize that sexual orientation is a non-exclusionary criterion. I know this is a long list, and our list is even longer, but I just drew on some of the key points. But I really want you to know that we are not a fly-by-night party that forms in the rush of election fever for personal gain. Rather, our aim is total service to our country and to our people. We have come together and agreed on the personality of the party, and I would like to share that with you. It is important that all of Guyana understand the party's DNA. And when I say DNA, I'm sure most of you know, but for the people who are unfamiliar with the term, is pretty much what is our essence, what makes us who we are. The LJP is a non-racial, non-sexist, non-homophobic, and democratic party. Its policies are determined by the membership and its leadership, who are accountable to the membership in terms of the procedures laid down in the party's constitution. The LJP will contest the national elections as a registered political party, drawing its electoral support from all sections of Guyana's society and the diaspora. The LJP shall, in its composition and functioning, be a non-racial, anti-racist, non-sexist, non-homophobic, against all forms of bullying, verbal, physical and sexual harassment, and ethnic chauvinism, while striving for the maximum unity of purpose and functioning. The LJP shall respect the cultural, linguistic, and religious diversity of its members. The LJP shall support the emancipation of women, our youth, rights of the child, people with disabilities, combat sexism, and ensure that the voice of all our members, especially women, are heard in the organization and that women are properly represented at all levels. The principles of respected freedom of speech and free circulation of ideas and information shall operate within the LJP. Membership of all bodies of the LJP will be open to all persons in the organization without regard to color, race, or creed. The LJP will cooperate closely with liberal religious bodies in the country and provides on an interfaith basis for the recognition of the spiritual needs of its soon-to-be many members who are believers. The LJP shall at all times hold the nation's interest above the party's interest. Now, I do recall when the media had asked His Excellency, the President, about him contesting for the presidency again in 2020. And once again, media, I hope you don't give me a lashing for this, but I think how it was reported anyway, is that he said he has an obligation to his party, and what the party pretty much determined, it's what he will have to do. Had I been his advisor, I would have advised him that maybe the nation's interest needs to be paramount to the party's interest. And what should have been at least communicated very clearly is that he has a commitment to the country, and if the country so desires and so elects him, that he is going to lead. And to me, that is a very important shift in how the young people of Guyana are thinking. Our national pride is summed up in our country's motto: one people, one nation, one destiny. And the pure genius of Guyana, literally, is our diversity. We say that our nation is made up of 6 races, and personally, I don't like using races. It implies competition. Like all of us are rushing, trying to step on each other, trying to outrun each other to some point. And we should not be in that kind of competition. In my view, Guyana has transformed into a land of 6 ethnicities. I see Guyana made up of First Nations, Afro, Indo, Porto, Euro, and Chinese descents. We also have our mixed people, or peoples, because they're not one. One of the fastest growing demographics whose identities are not covered in our definition and are disenfranchised and polarized by the racial political arena. The LJP has no racial divides. As I stated earlier, equality and the eradication of racial politics is a priority. We need all of our people to be seen and heard, to be part of Guyana's story that is yet to be written. Currently, we should be living in the future that our parents envisaged for us. But are we really doing that? Are we living in that future? My parents envisioned a future for me that was inclusive, innovative, free from discrimination, and transformative, that has a positive outlook. But I want to ask, is that the Guyana that we're living in right now? And is that the Guyana that we really want to continue with, the one that is here right now? In my view, it was hijacked by politicians, and politics of the day denied us the future that our parents wanted for us. It is time we took responsibility for shaping the future of our children's future. The LJP will reclaim our young people with role models who every single day walk the path of integrity. We will build mechanisms so they are heard, comprehensive, sustainable training so they can be part of Guyana's future success. Our young people need to understand that they really are Guyana's future. I want to believe, correction, I don't want to believe. In fact, I do believe in a Guyana with so much potential. And I really mean it. I look around this room and I see diversity. And I don't see anyone as saying, you know what, I'm not going to sit next to this person because they're of this, whatever, or whatever. So basically, we have simply subscribed to what our chief political architects of these political parties would have given us. We have permitted them to divide us, but it is time we started down a new path. I want to live in a Guyana where institutional corruption is a thing of the past. Where a teenage girl has a multitude of choices rather than submitting to an abusive society where their rights are not respected. Where young men have enough options that build their self-esteem and self-worth so they do not have to resort to fill that gap with gang-related crimes and violence to feel like a man or make ends meet. And the effects of this is actually very, very profound. It creates an environment that fosters stable families, and we all know that stable families produce stable futures, and we cannot build a lasting future on shaky ground. We need to take better care and provide better opportunities for our youths. I want to live in a Guyana with the rights of our child being paramount. I want to live in a Guyana where you do not have to be rich to achieve your potential, where a prosperous, environmentally sustainable framework, energy industries, and diverse platforms are in place for all of our children to inherit. Wherever you come from, or whatever the color of your skin, or your religion, or your sexual orientation, or your physical challenges are no barriers to your success. Where the best is not the exception, but the norm. Where people can pursue their passion or passions, if you have more than one, by developing an idea, create